So how are you doing, Dr. Thitinan?
Just like everyone else, I think, becoming accustomed, getting used to it, and still adjusting with the easing of the measures, the emergency decree measures, and so on. And then, of course, the teaching has finished, so now it's about grading. And then I have a lot of writing projects. I would say overall, I have no complaints, but some adjustments. But a lot of people are in the same boat.
Yeah. But have you taken advantage of the easing of restrictions, like going out for dinner, for lunch, or to have, say, a haircut?
Luckily, I had a haircut even during the lockdown. I was able to find a way to get my hair trimmed. But I've gone out a little bit. I think, there's a pent-up hunger for physical interaction. I mean, we are, I think, as Plato said it, we are social animals. And I think the virtual online has limitations. In a way, the communications technology has become almost a perfect substitute for transportation. So if you don't need to go somewhere to commute, then you can use communications devices and in technology. But as we do more of it, as we do more online virtual, Zoom and various media platforms, we find that they are unsatisfactory. I had my first, just a 1-minute anecdote. I had my first face-to-face, in-person work meeting a few days ago. And after almost 2 months of meeting online, it was really refreshing because, face-to-face, you get to see the body language, you get to have a little bit of laughter, a little bit of banter, a little bit of catching up and this and that, and a lot of between the lines that you don't get online, like Zoom, for example. So it was very welcome. I think that we humans are finding a balance of some kind after this COVID-19. I think eventually maybe we'll have a new balance, a little bit more communications technology, but I think by and large, what we had before COVID, we will still have after COVID.
I see. Yeah. You were talking about grading students' papers, but if you are to grade the performance of this government in handling the pandemic, what would it be?
I've been working all day today. I've been up early in the morning and writing and doing this and that, including a webcast for my institute, the ISIS Thailand. So I'm in a kind of a charitable mood, I don't want to be harsh today. Let's just say this. The government, COVID-19 is difficult. It's a tough challenge. It's an external shock, exogenous shock that afflicts all countries, all governments. And everyone has a hard time with coronavirus. And it's something that, is made worse by the lack of information, the lack of predictions. And we don't really know, how bad the virus, how lethal, how dangerous it really is. So what we have done, like many other countries, is that I see that we've done we've gone very vigilant, very strong, very draconian at the expense of some flexibility. So this government, let's just say that before they set up the antivirus COVID center, before they empowered and authorized the public health professionals, and the medical doctors and scientists and so on. Before that, I would have to give them a very low grade, probably the lowest in my grading scale, because we had a lot of mixed messages from our ministers, cabinet ministers saying different things. We had the interagency conflicts. We didn't know who to listen to. We didn't know what was happening in the first half of March. We still had flights from Wuhan in China. We didn't suspend those flights until later. So it looked like we were behind the curve. But once the COVID center was set up and the doctors got in charge, they took charge, we knew who to listen to, and they were credible. In fact, I think they saved the government in many ways. And also the government then centralized control. The prime minister took charge of it, and then he didn't even use the cabinet. He used the permanent secretaries of different ministries. So I think overall, once the medical professionals, public health professionals took charge and led the way, it became good news for us Thai people, but also a credibility boost for the Prayut government. But now, after 2 months of this, we have to see the COVID fight as a moving balance, a moving mix. 2 months ago, we needed to listen to the doctors and the medical experts. We need to do what they told us to do. And, they got the numbers down. I mean, the numbers went down from 3 digits to 1 digit. And the death toll, Thailand ranks very highly in the world for how we've handled and mitigated and overcome the COVID challenge. But now, after 2 months, I noticed that the suicide rate, the death toll from suicide is 68 and climbing. But the death toll from COVID is 56 and stabilizing. So I think now we have to listen to the economists, to the social workers, and other social scientists and so on. We still need the doctors, the medical experts to be around, but now maybe they should step aside a little bit in order for us to have a balance, a moving balance going forward. I think also that now we are seeing, based on experiences in the world, the different countries have different approaches. A lot of them went into lockdown, very draconian, like we did. But countries like Sweden, I think, in hindsight, again, we still don't know how the virus will evolve. But as far as we know, Sweden took a kind of a different approach. They lived with the virus. They had more infections. The death toll was a little bit higher. But overall, I think they had a better balance. So now we have to find a way to live with the coronavirus. Don't think that we will have zero infections. That's not what we should be aiming for. We need a balance between economic reality and public health safety. We can have some infections. We want to know how many people we can accommodate, how many ventilators we have, how many at a given time that we can handle. And then the rest of it, we have to kind of open up the economy and try to get the economy going. This is the worst economic crisis Thailand has faced in living memory.
And does the move by opposition camps like Progressive Movement and Khao Klai Party have shown that right now Thai society may be ready for more political activity at this very juncture that the rate of infection has been declining? How do you see the implication, especially in this month, it's May?
I think that, to my mind, the foremost priority, Kunatha, would be, activities in general. I would think that first and foremost, we need to resume business operations, economic activities. You mentioned Kuntepsha about haircuts. These are small businesses. A lot of our people, they're employed in the informal sector. We don't know. They don't have salaries. They don't have payrolls. So, people who live from wage to wage, from day to day, from week to week, they need their jobs back. So I think that's the first priority, to try to reopen as many parts of the economy as possible so people can have jobs, they can have income, they can have livelihoods. And then beyond that, of course, we want to lift the general atmosphere of civil liberties, fundamental freedoms, and the freedom to political expression, public opinions, and so on. These are, basic freedoms, of course, but they go hand in hand. But I think that once the easing expands a bit more, is widened, so that we have more normal life again, a kind of a next normal, then of course, first and foremost, let's get the economy resuscitated as much as possible. And along the way, if there has to be political activities and so on, I think that's part and parcel. But I don't think that, we should be first and foremost think that, look, COVID is passing by, it's subsiding, let's go back to political activities. I think first of all, we have to prioritize lives and livelihoods, jobs, employment, businesses.